Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into a topic that directly affects your profitability as an e-commerce operator, and that is your payment processing costs. Specifically, we're going to compare two pricing models: flat rate pricing, which most of you are probably already using, and Interchange-Plus pricing, which most of you have probably never been offered. And by the end of this presentation, you'll have a clear picture of how each model works, what the real cost difference looks like at your volume, and how to decide which one is right for your business. So let's start with the basics. For purposes of this video, I'm going to cover two fundamental ways that payment processors charge you for accepting cards. There's a third model that I'm not going to cover here, and that is differential pricing. For our purposes here, we're going to cover two pricing models. The first is flat rate pricing, and that is one single rate applied to every transaction, regardless of what kind of card your customer uses. The second is Interchange-Plus pricing, and this is the traditional model in payment processing. And this is where you pay the actual underlying cost of the transaction plus the fixed transparent margin that goes to your processor. And here's the thing: most e-commerce operators have only ever been on flat rate. It's what Stripe, Square, and PayPal all use. And because it's so common, most people assume it's just how payment processing works. It's not. There's another option, and it's worth understanding. So how does flat rate actually work? Stripe, which is the most popular processor in e-commerce, charges 2.9% plus 30 cents on every single transaction. It doesn't matter if your customer paid with a no-frills debit card or a premium airline rewards card. You pay the same rate either way. That simplicity is genuinely appealing, especially when you're early stage and you just want to get up and running. The problem is what's happening behind the scenes. The actual cost of processing a basic debit card might be 0.8% or less, but Stripe charges you 2.9% regardless. That difference between what you pay and what the transaction actually costs, that's Stripe's profit margin, and it comes directly out of yours. The more volume you do, the more that spread adds up. Interchange-Plus works on a completely different logic. Instead of charging you one blended rate, the processor passes through the actual interchange costs, and that's, again, the real cost of the transaction as set by Visa or MasterCard, and then adds their own fixed margin on top. So if a debit card costs 0.8% to process, you pay 0.8% plus, say, 0.2% and 10 cents. If a premium rewards card charges 2.1%, you pay that 2.1% plus that same fixed margin of 20 basis points and 10 cents. The processor's margin never changes. Only the underlying interchange cost varies. This means your statement will have more line items, and it takes a little more effort to read, but every single cost is visible and accounted for. There's no spread, no hidden profit built into your rate. What you see is exactly what you pay. Before we go further, and I alluded to this on the prior slide, let's make sure we're clear on what interchange actually is, because this is where a lot of confusion lives. Interchange makes up the majority of the overall effective rate that you're paying, and it is the fee that goes to the bank that issued your customer's card. So when your customer swipes their, let's say it's a Chase Sapphire card, Chase gets an interchange fee on that transaction. That fee is set by Visa and MasterCard, not by your processor. It's published publicly twice a year, and every single processor in the country pays the same interchange rate. It's completely non-negotiable. What is negotiable, and this is the key point, is the margin your processor charges on top of interchange. That's the number you should be focused on when you're evaluating or switching processors. The interchange is fixed. The margin is where the deal gets made. Let's put some real numbers on this. Say you're doing $50,000 a month in card volume, and I did this in an earlier video. $50,000 a month in card volume, that's a pretty common threshold for a growing e-commerce brand. Now, on Stripe's flat rate of 2.9% plus 30 cents, depending on the average ticket size, you're looking at roughly $1,600 a month in processing fees. Now, on an Interchange-Plus processing model, you can achieve a 2.4% effective rate. That's very, very achievable. And in that instance, you're paying around $1,200 a month. That's a $400 monthly difference. Annualized, that's $4,800 a year. For a lot of businesses, that is a meaningful number. It's a part-time employee, a solid ad budget, or simply more margin on every sale you make. And this is at the lower end of the volume range where Interchange Plus starts to make sense. Let's scale it up. At $100,000 a month, okay, now Stripe is probably costing you around $3,200 a month, okay? Now, on an Interchange Plus model, at that same 2.4% effective rate, again, which is very achievable, that's an $800 monthly difference, okay? You're paying only $2,400 a month, or $9,600 a year. That's nearly $10,000 annually that you're paying in excess processing fees simply because of the pricing model you're on. And keep in mind, these numbers are conservative. Depending on your card mix, how many debit cards versus premium rewards cards your customers use, the savings on Interchange Plus could be even greater. The point is, at this volume, the pricing model you're on is a real business decision, not just an administrative detail. So why does the gap keep growing as volume increases? Well, it comes down to how flat rate processors make their money. They profit from the spread, the difference between what they charge you and what the transaction actually costs them. On a small account doing $5,000 a month, that spread is a few dollars. On an account doing $100,000 a month, that spread is hundreds of dollars every single month. Interchange Plus eliminates that spread almost entirely. Your processor makes the same fixed margin whether you're doing $10,000 a month or $1 million a month. There's no incentive for them to keep you on a higher rate because their margin is already transparent and fixed. The larger your volume, the more the flat rate model works against you, and the more Interchange Plus works in your favor. Now, to be fair, flat rate isn't always the wrong answer. If you're a newer store doing under $20,000 a month, the simplicity of flat rate is probably worth the slight premium. You don't want to be spending time reading complex processing statements when you should be focused on growing your business. But once you're consistently clearing $30,000 a month or more, the math starts to shift. The complexity of Interchange Plus becomes manageable and the savings become real and they compound. The statement has more line items, yes, but those line items represent transparency, not confusion. And with the right processor, you'll have support to help you read and understand them. At scale, complexity is a small price to pay for a meaningfully lower cost structure. So here's where I want to leave you. If you're not sure which pricing model you're currently on, or if you've never even thought about it before today, that's completely normal. Most e-commerce operators haven't, but now you know enough to ask the question, and I want to help you answer it. I run a free payment cost analysis for e-commerce operators. You send me your processing statements, I'll tell you exactly what you're paying, what model you're on, and what you could realistically save by switching. No pitch, no pressure here, just numbers. Send me a message directly or head over to paymentsforecommerce.com to get started. I'll show you exactly where you stand.